So I have two new people that joined, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So Jess, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Where are you today?
I'm calling you from Singapore, so it's 10 p.m.
Mm. And Algar, did I say your name correctly? And where are you from today?
Hello, good afternoon from England, Birmingham.
Okay, excellent and wonderful. And I see Andreas as well. Looking fully rested.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a baby, 9 weeks old, so rest is not always exactly what you got overnight, but today it's great. It's good.
Yeah. Wonderful. And Sue's hiding in her car from the kids.
You're gonna see me. This is not an ideal time for me right now. So if everyone's okay, I am gonna be in kind of creative settings. But I'm here.
Good for you. Yeah, everyone's welcome. Well, we will have a series of sessions across June to sort of get people acquainted to what we're doing. So I'm just going to share a little bit of context for the day and what the lab is, and then we'll give you a chance to do some breakouts together. So the lab started for a number of reasons. It's a vision I've had for quite some time. We did a small version of this when I lived in Australia, and now we're launching it in a big way here. And it's largely because we find that people are really hungry to both continue kind of what they started with the program, but also to be able to more readily invite friends, to be able to kind of go deeper on things that are important to them. And as we'll see in a few minutes, sort of work in three particular areas. So across our programs and events, people have formed some extraordinary relationships, and they don't want to lose those relationships. And so one of the main purposes of the lab is to not have a big program be the only way to connect, so that there's other opportunities for people to connect, form new relationships, find people working in similar spaces, similar interests, as a way to kind of deepen your professional community. The second thing that we want to do with this is, we all know that studying something the first time is great, but really for it to make an impact in our life and our practice, we ourselves have to practice. And it's not something we can immediately get up and just go do. And so the second function of the lab, if you will be able to create some areas of focus around practicing. So to give people the pathway to take what they've learned and increase their mastery of either narrative coaching or integrative development or anything else that we end up developing. And then the third one, which is one that actually interests me quite a bit, is it serves as an incubator. And a number of the participants in the past have gone on to do some really interesting projects. So part of the incubation part of the program or the lab will be for people that have done things to come back and tell us what they've done, what they've learned, what they're doing, what they've discovered. And it's a way for you to, if you have an idea around how to bring this work into the world that matters to you, to be able to work with others who may have a very similar interest and maybe have similar backgrounds. So you can talk about, hey, I work internally to an organization. It's challenging to try to sell this work inside the company. How do I do that? And working with others that are doing the same. And so we're going to give in the lab, and we'll kind of show you in more detail what that looks like. But in general, the lab is a way for people to continue their connections, their growth as a practitioner, and their development of new opportunities based on what they've studied in the past. For me, I think it's the future of professional development. The world's awash with information. We don't need lots more information. We need the courage in the community to go do new things. For today, we have one of the things that we're doing, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later, but we traditionally have had these two free events every month. Robert is on the call today, was the host of one of them. So we had our park benches. And so the park benches and the pivotal moments will be woven into the lab kind of going forward as one of the spaces you could choose to participate in. And the beauty of the lab is that it's self-directed. So you can make the lab in many ways what you need it to be. We'll provide resources and structures and facilitators, but a lot of what it ends up becoming will be completely dependent on where the community wants to take it. And so as part of that, we're going to be hosting the pivotal moments, but they will change as we introduce them into the lab, and what they become will be dependent largely on what the people who attend want it to be. And so we're working with Robert and Karen, our other host, to kind of begin to make that transition. And so today would normally have been a separate pivotal moments call, and today we're sort of blending it in as one of our options for our breakout rooms. And I just want to introduce Emily Ray. So Emily works on our team and has helped me put together the lab, and will be sort of one of our driving forces to launch it over these next coming months. Is there anything you want to share, Emily, about yourself or about the lab that I've not shared so far?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks,
Yeah.
David. I'm really excited about the lab. I came to the Moment Institute in sort of a roundabout way via a connection, Karen Weatherford, who David just mentioned. I am an educator by trade, not a coach. But when I found this community, I found conversation partners about ways that I wanted to expand and grow what I did in my classroom, far beyond what we might consider as a traditional approach in higher education. And so I joined the Beyond Coaching Experience, and then did the Integrative Development Program last year, and just had a transformative experience. And I've been working with David in different capacities since we became acquainted. And the lab mirrors pretty closely what I'm trying to do with my students at university, which is a portfolio development program. So taking these individuals who are at the start of their career journeys and helping them explore a sense of identity, come to an articulation of themselves and who they are, what they want to do with their skills, and then create a body of work that is a demonstration of that. And in many ways, that is also what the lab offers here in this space, which is continued exploration of our personal and professional selves, learning how to talk about that, learning how to talk about these shifts, or the thresholds that we want to cross together. And then ultimately, which the project's portion is where I'm most excited too, is how to create a body of work that is then a showcase of these things, so that it shines a light on what we are attempting to offer with our practice and with our clients. So just very excited to be here.
Great. And one of the benefits of the lab is that it will give opportunities for students, so people studying at a given time, to have access to graduates. And so rather than sort of isolate people in their silos, give a chance for people to access resources, access people across all the programs present and past. So again, to try to create more of a learning community. And part of this is intended to help support myself, to kind of shift my role in the business, to finish my next books, to stand behind our faculty, to do more mentoring. And we have an amazing faculty and set of hosts. And so to actually strengthen them to be able to kind of move forward. And so to do that, we need to kind of sort of keep with the times and not have everything be so program centric, but actually focus more on the growth and the journeys of the people that are involved. So I wanted just to share a couple of slides, and then I want to hear more about what is intriguing you, what interests you, and then we'll give you some time to work in some small groups together. So the purpose of the Institute, what we sort of have determined is our mission, is to increase the human capacity to learn from any moment. And again, so we want to be able to model that in our programs by not having everything having to move through the program, but bringing the program to you in the moments that you're in. And Susan, I think about your project and many others that are starting to form around, we are traditionally said, the learning's going to happen over here, and it's going to happen in this order at this time for these reasons. And we're moving completely away from that because that's not how life actually works. And so we're trying to equip our practitioners to be able to sort of liberate the learning from any moment in time. And then how do you engage people to be able to work that way? And so for me, that's sort of what we're about. And we're going to do that from a community-based perspective. And like I said, so there's visitors can come to the lab, graduates can come to the lab, students can come to the lab. It'll be sort of a membership-based system. And so like, for example, you could be a visitor and you could come for free to some of these sessions. And then if you want more, then you can pay a little bit more. But it's an opportunity to really connect people to each other and to what they're trying to accomplish, and to use all of the resources in our programs as an asset for you, not as necessarily a component of a program per se. So we'll deconstruct a lot of what we have. You'll still be able to get a certification if that's important to you in narrative coaching or integrative development. And we also have other forums for people to be able to do that. Just looking at my slides, see if anything else that feels important to share right now. Yeah. So let me just so you have some context. We're gonna, should we put them in the breakout rooms before the tour? I think would be a good idea. We'll do that. I'm talking to you, Emily.
Yes.
I think shall we do that?
I do. But before we do, I would, you kind of teed it up a little bit to hear, what brought folks here. And I'm wondering if it might be useful to hear that in the larger group, just to get a sense of who's in the room and how we can best utilize those breakout rooms.
Yeah, we did a bit of that before, but now we have more people. So
yeah.
So we've heard from a couple of you, but what brought the rest of you here? What are you curious about this morning?
So I can share mine.
Yeah.
I attended WBEC's session, David, and it resonated a lot with me. So I wanted to deep dive a bit more and try to understand. For some reason, I know there is something here for me. That's why I sign up. So I'm open just to listen, and see what comes from it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I can also share from my end. I'm a narrative coach student right now. And we recently came across the topic of thresholds, which is quite important in the whole process. And beyond that, I can say that in my own life, I'm really on a threshold. So I used to be a C-level executive, and I'm still advising boards. But now I in a way decided to make human development my priority in life. And this shifts a lot of things. And so I'm in an exploration journey right now.
Yeah. You'll find a lot of comrades in that space. So we've been on, I think, Stephanie is one I'm seeing right now. I remember you saying something quite like that a couple of years ago. Yeah. Do you want to follow on? Would you be willing to share some more stuff?
I just have to apologize in advance. I have 3 dogs and they like to fight. Russell, we'll say. So I so totally understand where you're coming from. I spent most of my career doing corporate strategy in fairly large companies. And for me, the shift to seeing people as people and not as numbers or productivity, not a good word for humans. What I found with integrative development and this community is this ability to observe and notice and hold space for people and just to be present and give them that sense of humanity. So for me, I've just completed a second phase of a program in New York City, working with a government organization, and the impact of what we do is just so profound when you just sit with people who are under stress, who are in burnout, who just want to do the right thing because they're so humanity focused. And this has become such an important element of who I am. I show up differently now. So thanks for letting me share.
No, thank you. Anybody else like to share?
Yeah, I'm happy to share as well.
Yeah.
I just came in with more of the beginner mind and a fresh idea. I didn't know much about the Moment Institute, but I got an invitation from a friend who already part or joined the community, and I think he's took some classes from you as well, David. And so I experienced you from Webex many years ago from the coaching when I started out of my coaching journey. And so that direct experience of you and the way that you integrate human development and how we can use the narrative to change story of people and the way we think and the habit of thoughts. And so when your name pop up from Christopher Day, who just joined earlier, he just left now. So he invited me, and I just want to see like what's here in this space where I can reconnect with the community. And I totally where I am right now. I'm interested in the integration and the human development and the potential utilization. So that's where I am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
did want to acknowledge that Algar had a hand up moments ago.
Thanks. Great.
Thank you. I was beginning to feel unseen.
And I moved my window up more so I could see more. I think I missed you on the bottom of the screen, so sorry.
Yeah, no, I put it down again after you called somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we see you now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and great to be on this. Like Paula, I had not heard about this or seen you, David, but your presentation at the WBEX Summit is where I listened to you, and what you have to offer just resonated. I am on a journey I know not where it's going to take me, but I came off the treadmill too and left the constraints of organizations and day jobs in the caring profession that seem to be sickness services rather than health services. And it is from that I am journeying in wanting to make some difference in this world in small ways. And certainly the pandemic was a great eye opener. And the restrictions that are put upon us trying to be coaches because the way coaching is programmed, I found very limiting. And so do quite a bit of pro bono coaching, which has given me freedom. And I refused to pay the amounts that are being asked for me to do what is against, my grain and thinking and ways of working. I very much see the holding of space for people, the going with people's agenda rather than my agenda set is so important. And what this community is promising is something I really would like to sincerely explore to see if I can find a home somewhere. Thank you.
It's beautiful. It's one of the most touching things about doing, particularly the recent WVEX talk, which I thought was perhaps my best ever, was the emails I've been receiving that have echoed those same beautiful words, Algar, about I knew that what I was doing in coaching wasn't working. I was tired of all the formulas and the models and the constraints, and I didn't think anything else was possible, but it just felt like this was like spring. And all of a sudden, like the possibility of I could work outside of that. And part of why the lab was really important and feels really timely is, many of us are experiencing a lot of what you're talking, Algar, that a lot of the old forms are broken or not working well or under duress or attack, and we don't quite know how this will turn out or what we actually are going to need, but I can guarantee you it's not going to require a coaching formula. And so but doing that on your own is hard, even for those of us who have been doing this for a long time. And so I just felt like we needed each other, and that whatever we're going to invent or reinvent in these times, we're going to do that together. And so it felt like to sort of decenter or de-emphasize the programs. You can, again, still have them if you want, because that's how we'll generate new graduates. But it's really in the creative spirit and the imagination and the dedication of the graduates who want to go do something different. And we don't know, it's a road that we've not walked before, right? It's a path where there is no path, but we'll go figure it out. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. Do you want to add more, Algar?
Just really to echo what you have said again, just resonates. And one of my core values is that learning, and I would like to join this journey and see where it takes. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Robert, Robert's one of our Pivotal Moments hosts. Do you want to just take a moment and introduce yourself and maybe share a bit about what Pivotal Moments were for you, and just kind of bring that into the room?
Sure. Well, you know my name, Robert Thompson. I'm also an educator by trade, as is Emily, but I've since left that field. I've been working with David's narrative coaching for quite a few years now, and have also done the BCE, the integrative development, and the narrative release courses, as well as the narrative coaching. And what brought me to this work originally was I'd actually joined a training course for coaching, and I was very disenchanted with it. I felt it was, for me as an educator, one of the most important things was being student-centered. And I found that a lot of the methodologies that I was being presented with were not client-centered. They were all about coach process. And I didn't like that at all. And I started to look online for something to do with narrative, because that was my bag. And anyway, so I fell upon David's work, and I'm still here. And things come up quite regularly that reinforce the reasons why I chose to be doing this work in this way. And yeah, there are lots of reasons, but I'm very much drawn to the fact that this work does place the client front and center, that the coach is there in the field, but not dominating or not with their own agenda, not forcing a trajectory towards some sort of a goal, putting pressure on the client to come up with something at the beginning, which they're doing just to please the coach, which I just sort of felt was none of it sat well with me. So so for me, it's a continuing journey. It's a continuing unfolding, and a continuing breaking down of the barriers, I think, that exist with traditional coaching structures.
Okay. Great. Is there anybody else who'd like to check in?
David, I'll just say a touch more because I didn't say much. And again, please forgive my alternative environment. My son is now driving to help facilitate this. I wasn't sure if this is going to be a large lecture after having attended 4 lectures a day with W. Bex. It was, I actually I did not realize this was going to be more of an interactive group, which is amazing. But I am a leadership coach. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm in transition. And I find I do my best in community with my people, and groups like this. The integration piece, I would say, has been the most difficult. And I'll say it's a lot of the things that I apply with myself. I feel like, we all have certain gifts that we can give to others. And the application and integration at this stage in my life where I'm walking my talk as a coach, for those of us who know Marshall Goldsmith, one of my favorite books is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And at this stage in my life, the integration piece is so important so that I can put the oxygen mask on and then really be that vessel for my clients. I've been in corporate for 30 years. So really it's taken me a long time to shift out of corporate and into this mindset where I think my gifts are and where I want to be, but I think I need a little bit of a community to help me get there.
All right.
Thank you.
Marilyn.
Hi, David. I'm sorry I'm joining so late. My niece had her first baby in the middle of the night last night, so I'm just trying to get myself together. We were up a little late. And I too, David, saw your session at the WBEX, and I'm part of the GTCI Systemic Team Coaching Program, but your words were so profound to me. I'm looking at everything you're doing, and this group is lovely. And I don't know, there seems to be a lot of us who are ex-educators. I'm an ex-social worker and private school owner, and I'm doing team coaching right now with a few different healthcare organizations, but I really appreciate what you're doing, David, and what everybody here is sharing today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Emily, a wizard of breakout rooms. What are you sensing from all this in terms of how we might divide up these folks? I've got an idea, but what are you feeling?
Well, given that today we are merging this session with pivotal moments, I'm wondering if we are to, maybe offer some options for breakout rooms around both the lab and pivotal moments. So as we were kind of discussing the Threshold Lab and the pillars of what it will offer this community, we landed in kind of 3 areas, which are connection, practice, and incubation. And I'm wondering if maybe we can self-organize around pivotal moments in those 3 areas.
Well, let me share my thought and see
Please.
if I can find it. Yeah. So what I'm hearing and what I'm really struck by in this conversation is that pretty much everybody on this call is in the middle of a transition, and I'm wondering if we could maybe, just given we have a bit of a smaller group this morning, if we had 2 groups,
okay,
so they have enough to talk to, and maybe it's one of the concepts that we work with a lot is this idea of the field. The spaces in which we work, the sense we're making of where we are, really that, as many of you sort of alluded to, the attention to what's happening in front of us, not what's happening in our own mind or in our coaching formula. And I'm wondering if we have just two groups, and maybe it's like, and that you can decide for yourself. Maybe it's people that are newer, they're sort of starting this sort of integrative transition process. And maybe others that maybe feel a little bit farther along, that are kind of looking out now, what do I start to do with what I'm discovering? Yeah, I'm wondering if we could divide them up that way. How does that sound to you?
Sounds good. Let me just, what we're going to utilize here in the lab space, just we're modeling a little bit today what it would be like to come to a lab session, which is we join in all together, have a brief check-in, see what's on our minds and our hearts, and then utilize the breakout rooms in a kind of choose your own adventure type experience where you will self-select into a room, and we'll name the breakouts according to kind of what we, what's bubbling up that day, and then you'll be able to select that. So as I label these two groups, David, we have the theme around transitions, but maybe one that is getting started with the transition. And what shall we call the second one?
We have a little contest. See,
What's
that?
Group B.
Group B. Okay. I love it.
Jungian Group B.
That's right. Group B. Okay.
There we go.
I love it.
That's like option B, and yeah.
Absolutely.
When we start in full in July, people can bring entire groups to the lab and then go off and meet together. People can start to notice, and we'll have ways, and we'll show you later today, ways of organizing each other offline to kind of constellate groups. So people like in education, what does this mean for education? Or people that are trying to detoxify from extensive corporate careers and find the humanity again. And so the value of doing the labs these ways is that you can form the pods of people you want to hang out with. You can connect around projects. You can connect around common interests, common events. And so the lab little experiments today is just sort of a way for you to feel that. And again, we will create some scaffolding for the entire lab. We will create enormous amounts of resources and add them to the lab. And I have no idea what the lab will look like a year from now. And that's just fine. It's not my job to tell you what the lab's going to be. It's all of our jobs to pay attention to what does the lab want to become, and what does the world need from us in a way that we want to reorganize ourselves. And for me, it's whenever I introduce integrative development to my organizational clients, there's always a period of panic, because for many of them, it's the first time they've made an adult choice about their own learning, and that someone else is not going to tell them what to do and where to go and what to learn and how to be. And it's liberating in the end. It's often daunting in the beginning, because it's undoing a long history for many of us of being told what to do and what to learn. And so part of why we're starting off sort of slowly with the lab is, even for those of us who've been studying in this work, it's still to take responsibility for our own learning, to reach out to others, to do the work that we need to do in a more open-ended way is a new experience. And so so I think if we have those two groups, I think that would be loads of fun. We'll give you, say, half an hour and just a chance to connect to other people, kind of see what's up for you, what a lab might do for you. If you had your magic wand, what would you wish for yourself? And to see what kinds of things come up. We'll come back, we'll check in and see how that went. And then we'll talk a bit more about the details of what the lab includes and Emily will give you a wonderful brief tour of what this space looks like. Okay.
Wonderful. I'm going to open all the rooms. You should see some options before you. We've got our getting started, followed up with group B, and you can join whichever rooms strikes your fancy.
Right. Well, we can make that happen, Stephanie.
And Marilyn she had to leave for a class. So she
Yeah.
said, thank you. It was a wonderful conversation. She's just a beautiful soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a couple of people who had to leave for other things. So great. Well, I just wanted to take a few minutes just to check in about kind of what did you notice or what emerged for you in your conversations? Hmm. Hmm.
I noticed that there's a level of unspoken consciousness living inside the person who's speaking. And somehow that's feel like a fluid connection. It's effortless and just merge. And what I also noticed is that is the level of capacity to walking the journey to the maturity.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Jess.
That's it for now. Thank you.
And their observations. And Emily's back. Elgar, I see you this time.
I think it's because I raised the proper hand. My digital hand is a darker hand.
Ah.
Maybe it's yeah. Thank you, David. Yeah, it's just really sharing my own feelings. Just in terms of the practicing intentionality, and I was just paying attention to how I am feeling and how I was feeling in our group, and just reflecting on that sense of that's in humans of wanting to belong, and in another group. I'm in with Peter Block. He was talking about the anxiety that provokes. So I just wanted to be transparent about that and just put it there. Really, that's all.
I remember years ago being in a workshop and they were trying to, most any human behavior can be explained if you understand what humans need. And some of the ways people seek to fulfill those needs are sometimes maybe not helpful for others, but the needs are generally human. And they were talking about this sense of belonging. I don't know what the equivalent would be where all of you are from, but in the American schooling system, we have this thing called junior high school, which would be about 11, 12 years old maybe. And you're in this sort of more nesty-like elementary school with all your friends. It's often in your neighborhood. They take good care of you. And then you get thrust into this Lord of the Flies kind of experiment where it's you have to go to all these different classes. The height and maturity gap is huge. And seventh grade is, for most people, and at least in the US, for many people, it's the most challenging year of schooling when they're young, by far. And so this facilitator was talking about asking it, this happened to be a group of Americans, but she was asking us to begin to have maybe more empathy for people whose choices around belonging or behaviors were challenging to us. And remember, it asked us to remember vividly and describe in small groups what that first day of seventh grade felt like. And her question was, what if it felt like that for you every day? To then give some appreciation for what people sometimes do when they feel on the outside all the time. And so it was, yeah, so it was quite shocking. So yeah, so part of our effort here is to help make sure that everybody feels included. Yeah.
Or I just, pardon, I just want to share something is, for me, it's always amazing how we can be so vulnerable, and you don't need, we don't know each other, to be honest. We are completely different places. And the energy was so good that we didn't even, I haven't felt anyone just being, you know, with like this and like, okay. No, it was just fluid. And I just love that, because when we are this vulnerable means that we are so courageous. So it always gives me this, set your back straight and say you can do it, because the hardest part is to do this, to open ourselves and be fully transparent, with no agenda, with anything, with just, it's just the energy in the room. So I want to thank everyone that did that, because I find it beautiful, to be honest.
Thank you. Yeah, we do attract amazing people. We have our differences, that's for sure, but there's a commonality of intention and connection that a lot of people, the running joke I have is that people come to all of this because of me, but they stay for each other. Yeah.
And for Robert's cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meet Cobweb.
Ah. Yeah, we sort of actually we have this sort of side business of pet therapy, because a lot of people's pets tend to come into camera when we're on their calls. So we're like trying to do a little bit of reach out to the pet community as well. Yeah. All right. Let me I want to just share one slide, and then I'll turn this over to Emily, and she can give us a bit of a tour of what this looks like for you. So I'm just going to share my screen here for a second and just show you a little bit. Yeah. Here it is. All right. I'm going to share the screen. There we go. Oh, and PowerPoint's not showing up. Well, that's really interesting. Let's see what happens when I do this. Nothing. Open. Oh. Sorry. It's asking me to unlock this. Now we can go. Oh, I can't do that. It's going to quit Zoom. We don't want to do that. So I'm not going to show you a slide, but imagine on your screen would be a slide. And I just got a new computer over the weekend, and it's keeps popping up these surprises of things it wants from me. So I'm just going to share a couple of things. So in the lab will be these sort of weekly sessions, again, divided up as you so choose. So as you did today, the opportunity to choose the group you want to be in. You also can create new groups, move between groups. We're also going to have a sort of a live space that Emily will show you in a little bit, where we have a wide variety of features, and the opportunity then to either use the lab as a way to introduce yourself to our community and move in, in our programs, and or to be adjacent to a program you're in, or actually to be a support for you after the fact. We'll have a lot of resources available to you eventually. In January, both of our main programs will be hosted on this new platform that Emily's going to show you. And so the programs will be an integral part to the lab itself. There'll be some new things we're creating for some time with me, a lot of ways for you to connect with each other. And in this, what we're doing is starting in early July, it's just a subscription-based model. So it's an introductory rate of only $97 a month, and you can have all of this. In terms of the weekly meetings, we'll meet every single week. Opportunities to use the forum, access the resources. We're going to start some things in July where we have some of our graduates who have been using this work in the world come and share their case stories. Yeah, and so there's just a lot of things. And for me, this is where this is all going. Instead of making everybody come through all of our programs, we're bringing our programs to you and finding ways of bringing these resources and connections to serve whatever you're trying to do in the world with this work. So with that, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to ask Emily to just show you what this actually looks like in real life.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Threshold Lab on Circle. This is a platform, as David said, that we are using to host the digital version of this learning community. And it functions very similar to a private Facebook group. And what you'll see here is there will be an area that's dedicated solely to the Threshold Lab right now. As David mentioned, our programs are going to be moving onto this platform in the new year. So in addition to the Threshold Lab, you would see the ID Way or narrative coaching here in this space. And if you were to be taking one of those programs, you would have access to that space as well. So one of the cool things is that we can organize here under topic threads. So we've gone ahead and built out a couple of areas as people are onboarding, and we've got our early adopters in this space, but a place for discussions. So here, you can see it's a threaded conversation where members are able to interact with one another and share thoughts around topics. We have a live session calendar. So this is essentially where you can bookmark the dates for our live sessions that happen weekly. So twice a day, one at 10 a.m. Eastern Time US and one at 6 p.m. So in essence, if we are to take a look at, there are 4 weeks in a month, and we are offering sessions once a week, twice a day. There's an opportunity for you to hop on a call with this community 8 times within a month to have real synchronous, depthful conversations. Here, when you click into a session, you'll get a little bit more information about the agenda and what's, how we're going to break out. You have the ability to join it with a Zoom link here. So no looking around for the proper link for where you need to be. It's all located right here within the community. And you do have an ability to add these sessions to your calendar. But one of the benefits of being a member to the lab is that you don't need to sign up for these sessions over and over again. That when you are here, you have automatic access to these weekly events. You know where all of the materials are, you know who is in the larger community that you can connect with, and you can start to make relationships and connections even outside of the live sessions. We have a space here for resources and support. So as we were launching the lab last week, and we're kind of getting into this choose your own breakout room experience, I just went ahead and posted a tutorial for what that looks like here in the resource section. And this is how these spaces will help facilitate greater sharing and greater scaffolding for us here, is that it's not just David sharing these things, it's not just me sharing, it's us sharing together in this space and organizing it kind of according to these buckets that we have right now. But again, as David said, we're co-creating this together, and we're entering into a pilot program as we're kind of getting a critical mass number of folks here to say, what does the lab want to become? One of the things that I was really excited about was having Susan on the call today, talking about the project that she wanted to bring into the lab space. So, you know, I went ahead and created this new case stories community within the community for folks who already know they have a project that they want to work on. If they want to, you know, bring it in as an incubator or a place to raise questions to the larger community, there's a dedicated space to do that. And, you know, as new members join, you will see everybody listed up here. And when you select one of these individuals, you can learn more about each person, where they are, and connect with them here in this space. Once we continue to self-organize as more and more people come on board, you know, we might create subgroups within this area for people who are dedicated in the education space or the nonprofit space, or, you know, ex-corporate space. It seems like there would be enough interest to create a space dedicated to folks who are leaving that environment and looking for what's next. But this is the lab, and you know, I like to describe it as having kind of two very distinct but supportive components. One is the live sessions. So this is what happens every week. You're in one now. As more and more people get here and we focus in on the action or the doing, or even just simply the being, we'll be able to check in at the beginning of our time and then say, you know, for anybody who's working on a project, let's go over to this room. Or, you know, if there's some people who want to practice a skill or dive into a certain kind of conversation, you know, that's the ability that we have in these live sessions. But also there's going to be a very rich community developing and evolving in this space as we learn more about the features and people start to add their voice to the collective conversation that is emerging here. You know, I just quickly want to hop over to, let's see what we got here. I don't know if this was the slide that you were looking for, David, you know, but I just wanted to bring it up and have it here, you know, to say, right now, as we are gearing up with the lab, we're hosting complimentary sessions for all of the Mondays in June. And if you signed up for today, you know, next week on the 20th, we have another session, and next week on the 27th, you're welcome to come back just to continue to be in conversation, to get a felt sense of this community and those that gather here. And, you know, when we move into July, this is, you know, really when we're hoping to start to utilize the Circle platform in even greater ways. You know, here we like to think of the lab as offering kind of a continuity of experience for those who found their way to the Moment Institute, that you might have just heard David speak at WBEX and you're not ready to, or maybe even wanting to commit to another program of study, you know, something that is a rigid container with a rigid schedule. The lab would just offer you an opportunity to stay in conversation, to meet your needs, whatever they are. But also if you're coming out of a program and you've just had this transformational experience with, you know, the souls that gather here, and you're not wanting it, the structure and the accountability of it to end, this would also offer a place to have a touch point, a weekly touch point, to come back and continue the conversation about how you are, you know, perhaps applying what you're learning, the skills, concepts, techniques in your program, you know, back in your community, in your place of practice. So I will stop my screen share for the moment, but you know, happy to answer any questions about the Threshold Lab and how to get involved.
Yeah. People are busy today, but a lot of people had to leave to go to the meeting. Must be a busy Monday. Anything else we can offer for you right now? And if not, maybe we'll call it a day. We will be sending out some notices this week, sort of telling you what's coming up next. And yeah, I just want to thank you for your time and your presence with us. And Susan, I look forward to talking to you soon and hearing more about your project. And yeah, we just found out a couple of days ago that we won another year of funding for our Indigenous program in Australia. So I'm really excited about that, and we'd be happy to compare notes. And we're trying to, it's a big time for them right now. So we're trying to see if we can rally enough people together to create a national summit. We'll see if we get that far, but that's what we're aiming for. So, all right. So be well, my friends. Thank you, Emily, as always, for joining us, and we'll be in touch soon. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
There we go.
Mm.